Hey folks, Crazy Climber 80 here again, and this time we're going to look at a game called Barrier. This was created by Cinematronics and sold to Vectorbeam in 1979. It is a black and white kind of 3D-ish game, and the story basically goes that Vectorbeam, who had worked with Cinematronics before, didn't have a game after they released Speed Freak. So they contacted Cinematronics and said, hey, do you guys have a game you can sell us? And they gave them Barrier, and Vectorbeam laughed their asses off because Barrier was so awful. And basically, it is just like the late 70s handheld football games, in which you're just a little blip and you just move down the screen, and that's it, over and over and over again. The bezel is kind of cool, the artwork here, in which there's like a wizard with the gameplay on his cloak, I guess. But the gist of the game is you are a Darth Vader mouthpiece like character at the bottom of the screen, and it doesn't move in the attract mode. But your goal is just to move up the screen, and you see how it kind of goes 3D into the distance. There are 10 rows of spaces and 3 columns. And you get a point for moving up one space. You get a point deducted for moving back a space, but don't worry about that. That's a good strategy, actually. You can back up here and reappear at the top, and you can change the enemy's formation a little bit. Run into a diamond, or if they run into you, you die. And for some reason they're just sitting here. But you can kind of move them over to one side, and then you have 4 directional buttons, up, down, left, right. And repeatedly, get used to repeatedly wailing on the up button to move past them. And we'll get started. But yeah, you back up, and they can't cross from the bottom to the top, or vice versa. You can. So use that to your advantage to draw them back up towards you if you're at the top, and go to the far side to get them to kind of group over that way. See, I'm wailing on the up button. That'll get me past them. But their pattern of movement, it seems like it's random completely, so it's hard to tell what they're gonna do. I have never seen this game before. It is just as terrible as Vectorbeam thought it was when Cinematronics sold it to them. Yeah, Tim Skelly had worked both with Vectorbeam and Cinematronics, and he had hired the guy that created this for Cinematronics, and that was oh gosh, what was his name? Rob Patton, when he was only 17 years old. But yeah, this might be a good strategy if you want to get at least somewhat decent in this game. Back up so that you're at the very top, and just kind of draw them over to one side. And once they get close enough to maybe just about hit you, then go back to the top and go up the side that they're not guarding. But yeah, they will move on their own volition, and they have a pattern of movement that I'm guessing is completely random. This 3D structure here that I'm on looks like a guitar fret to me. I'm halfway expecting notes to come down like in Guitar Hero. But I'd never seen this in arcades before, and I would have really been disappointed had I played it back then. But yeah, this is a terrible game. I don't think there's any way to get extra lives in this. You know, if this had like a an energizer or something that you could run over, like that was randomly appearing on the tiles, and then you could turn the tables on the diamond things, oops, then that would make the game more interesting. But this is incredibly dull. And yeah, I remember seeing the electronic football games, the handheld football games back in the day, and you have to run your little blip past the other blips to move up the field, and just repeatedly cross from one side of the screen to the other and then back again. But yeah, get ready to wail on the up button when you have a lane that's clear. Rob Patton, who created this, would I think he would fortunately see better days ahead. I think he got a prestigious job with Sony later on. But yeah, this game is beyond bad. Oops, yeah, I was not expecting him to hit me. Now, in MAME, this does not work, putting in your initials. You can't set your initial. You can rotate it only in one direction, but you can't set the initial. And the only way to get out of this is to, like, put in another credit. And that's messed up. But maybe the MAME creators felt that barrier was not worth the effort, and I can't say I would blame them. I mean, the effort to fix this. But at any rate, that's Barrier, created by Cinematronics in 1979, or more specifically Rob Patton, and sold to Vectorbeam. And yeah, Tim Skelly and company at Vectorbeam just laughed their asses off at how bad a game it was. But yeah, Tim Skelly had worked for both Vectorbeam and Cinematronics. And he would go on to create a lot of really, really good games. Like Reactor, I believe he made. Star Castle, ripoff. A lot of pretty cool games. That is Barrier by Cinematronics and sold to Vectorbeam in 1979. And yeah, I'll show you a little bit of the strategy I was talking about before. Maybe just like back up from the beginning, draw them all over to one side, and then move up when you've got a lane clear, and then move like hell to run up that side and hope that they don't move into you. It might be a somewhat feasible strategy. But the best strategy of all is just not to play this crappy game. Well, I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your holidays. But that was Barrier by Cinematronics, or Rob Patton, yeah, when he was 17 in 1979, and sold to Vectorbeam. Well, that was Barrier by Cinematronics and sold to Vectorbeam in 1979. This is Crazy Clamorides, and thanks for watching Barrier. And I hope you have a fantastic remainder of your holidays. Take it easy, everybody, and I will see you again in the near future. Bye, folks.